We are live. Welcome to Oz Property Investors' first ever YouTube channel video with Jef Miles and Scott Aggett. Hello, gentlemen. How are we?
Good.
I
How are
feel
you, boys? Thanks for having me.
feeling
No
fantastic.
worries.
I just realised I'm the only one now without my second name, so I'm just Jeff. There's no, yeah, there's a
It's
Tucker and
Jeff,
an
one
Yeah.
F.
You could
That's
be
all
Blue Jeff.
that's all we need.
Blue Jeff from the Wiggles.
We're gonna start pumping up this YouTube channel a little bit more. We've got amazing guests that provide amazing value. And Scott Aggett, you're kicking this thing off with some interviews with some amazing people. Give us a bit of a rundown. What's been going on?
Yeah, I was lucky to tie down a few of the big hitters in the industry just before they all went off to, Qualia or Hamilton Island to spend all their cash. They were hard-earned big 2021. So I came in with the big heavy-hitting questions around, predictions for 2022 for the property market in Australia, a review of 2021, what was the takeaway from the year that's just gone, and then just asked a couple of little things around, I guess a couple of key things that happened in 2021 that we haven't seen before. And I'm talking about, this rush of people moving to regional areas, whether those trends are going to last, any new trends that we can see coming forward. So yeah, dug into that with three big brains and was excited to get their answers.
I think it's four big brains.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, maybe that could be fun to see. Yeah. So, Joe, who have we got coming up in these videos? Who did Scott's interview?
So we've got James Smith, we've got Mike Mortlock, and we've also got Kent Lardner, the big man on campus, and then we've got a mystery guest at the end that might not be a big brain at the end of this. So let's find out and see.
That's why I said there was three big brains.
I like it. Okay.
Mike Mortlock, thank you so much for joining me today. Really appreciate your time. We are doing a quick review of 2021 and your forward projections for 2022. And I'm interested as a property industry expert to get your views, mate. What happened in 2021 for you? What are the takeaways? Anything good, bad, or ugly happened to your business, your property portfolio, anything in the industry that you thought was worthy of a mention?
That's a bloody broad question, Scott. So I'll attack as much as I can. I don't know if I'm a property expert. I've nerded out on tax legislation for long enough to be able to answer most of those questions. But I guess a big surprise for me is how strong the market has been. Now, there were some visionary people out there that saw through all the CBA 30% drop rubbish that came out, and now CBA is having another go at predicting. I'm just thinking, oh, come on, like you've lost your street cred. I don't think we can listen to the banks on property prices, but just the sheer pace and the fever pitch and the real lack of listings. I understand the fundamentals and the reasons for it, but the demand has just been crazy. And for me, it was amazing to see what people will do when they miss out on 3 or 4 properties. They're just finding a way to get the money and telling their buyer's agent or going to the auction, just saying, we are just getting it. I don't care what we pay. Dangerous sort of property market to be in.
Absolutely. I think that was probably one of my biggest takeaways this year that I hadn't seen before for many, many years in the industry is just the sheer volume of people that were just stir crazy and were going above and beyond. And I think that's starting to change now from all the talks that I've had this weekend with some agents that are friendly with me in Sydney and Melbourne, that the heat's definitely come out of the market in that regard. I had one agent tell me yesterday, as principal of a really successful office in the inner west in Sydney, that the market, he thinks, around that $2.5–3.5 million price range for houses possibly has moved 10% south in the last 4 weeks. So you're not seeing that in the press at all. No one's come up with that at the moment, except for people starting to identify a bit of an oversupply in the market. So possibly there's a little bit of a shift there, but we'll see what happens with rates next year and whether that really bites into those prices and we start to see things stabilize a bit. So what do you reckon about next year then? What's any predictions or anything that you see forthcoming in your business that's going to change in 2022?
I'd hate to put myself in the CBA list and us do a retrospective and go, I can't believe I said that. But, I think it's fairly safe to say that it's not going to be as strong a market as it has been. I mean, even the lagging data is saying that the the pace of growth has slowed. It is still growing. So I expect there to still be some growth in the next calendar year to the end of 2022. But I definitely see the peak of the market is pretty much gone. So I think we'll finish the year in positive territory with a little caveat talking about, as you say, rates or macroprudential policy. So if the serviceability flaws, yeah, I know, I had to write that down and just get the phonetic spelling. The serviceability flaws, if they're tampering with any of that sort of stuff, it's really going to put the brakes on. But I'm expecting a flood of listings in the new year compared to what we've seen in the last couple of years. So there's going to be much more of a balanced market. And I think there's probably only a couple of areas where maybe that's going to be a later story, like places like Southeast Queensland and Brisbane, where I still am hearing that the market is pretty hot.
Absolutely. From buyers, it's definitely still super competitive from what I can see in Southeast Queensland compared to lots of other pockets in Australia. But Mike Mortlock, that's classic fence sitting. You've given me absolutely nothing in terms of a percentage. I'm definitely redialing you in December 2022. So you're not leaving without a percentage growth for national property markets in 2022. What is it? Go.
Righto. 3%.
All right. Well, I'll speak to you in December next year and we'll see what happens.
Gosh,
thanks for your time,
really,
mate.
really cornered me into that.
Good to chat. Merry Christmas, Mike. Thanks for your time.
Cheers. Thank you. Pleasure, Scott.
Mate. Jane Slack-Smith, big brain on campus. How you doing?
Woo-hoo. In the house.
I love tapping into your big brain. I've got 2 questions for you to end the year, 2021, which is a crazy property year. 2 things I think you'll have very good responses to. I'll start with the first one. A drive to regional properties. People moving out to the sticks, whether it's coastal or tree change, is it going to last? That is question number 1.
Oh, wow. You start with the tough ones, right? I'm a little counter the rest of the Australian property commentators on this. And I'm a student of the numbers, as you know, and the data, but then I put on the human element. And so I do believe we have been in a period of time where, the rising tide has pushed everything up. And as the tide starts to go out, we get to see what the reality is. So we saw all of the states, capital cities, a lot of the regionals go up in value, which was fantastic. And now we're starting to see the Perths and the Darwins come off a bit. And, they are really backed by the iron ore, the mining industry. It's not there. We've got issues with China. It makes sense that that's coming off. Now, I've been watching this retreat or this kind of move to the regionals. I do have a few thoughts on that. And I've been also monitoring the millennial space. The millennials have saved more than any other group in Australia since COVID. And I was looking at their, if you can't afford to get into a property, what do? You've got super, which is a long way off when you're a millennial, or you've got shares, which seem to be up and down, or you've got crypto.
Crypto Jane. Don't get you started on that rabbit hole.
Know, right? So I'm going to get back to regions in a second. But the crypto thing got me interested. So I started to see where people were investing, and it's over 55-year-olds who are doing short-term trading. The millennials are doing the long-term. This is a very conservative group of people, right? And they're usually in the ascent of their career path, which usually means that, they like to be seen by the boss or the person who's giving them the career,
the raise,
and, all of those things. They're not going to be like opting out for good to Shepparton, Dubbo, I don't know, Wilcannia.
Drop your suburb in this space. Yep.
Maybe not Wilcannia, but anyhow, there might be some opportunities to go backwards and forwards a couple of days a week. So I was kind of looking at that. And then I was looking at the 35 to 45-year-old age group. Now, traditionally, that's when you've got kids in high school or just about to start high school. And you're not going to be opting out in that white collar space of the, good selective schools that you can get your kids into and give them every kind of opportunity in life to go out to Lithgow High. Nothing wrong with Lithgow High. I have done a career counselling talk there about why not to leave school at year 10. But so what I'm just saying is that there's these two age groups that I don't necessarily think are going to be rushing to the regions. There has been a move to the regions. The regions have grown. It's been fantastic. And then we also have, I mean, I was an older mum. You know, I had a baby at 38. I was turning up to do preppy pickup at 42. Now, the 42
I feel your pain. I'm doing that currently.
Right. So the 42-year-olds are turning up to I know, you know, some country town, and they're surrounded by younger mums, younger demographics, 25 to 30. And that's really where we get a lot of that second stage friendships, you know, school, university, work, and then where our kids are hanging out in sports.
So it's a misconnect there. It's a misconnect in terms of the age.
So, you know, there is that kind of, I think there's a little bit of undercurrents that's going on. So this rise the tides and then back to normality. I'm just wondering if that, you know, that move to the regions and that rise of the regions is not going to become a retreat of the regions in the next couple of years. So
okay, I'm reading this as regions are dead. That's where you heard it first. Regions are dead.
Regions are great, maybe for a sea change or a bit of a time on Airbnb, but I'm not thinking it's here for the long term, especially when there'll be pricing, wage, unemployment pressures put on with the immigration flood that comes in. People will need to be seen to be stepping up, I think, in their roles. Yeah.
Well, that leads me to the last final question. I know you got another meeting to jump to, and you can't sit on the fence. Property price nationally, house price growth for 2022. Go. What's it going to be? Yeah, but up to what? What percentage?
Oh, geez.
And I'm dialing you in next December to hang you on this.
Which are we talking to?
House prices nationally. Go.
Nationally, house prices, they're going to be more buoyant based on the Southeast Queensland push.
No, I want a percentage.
I know. Well, I'm thinking they're still going to have like the 15s, and I think we're going to get back to the wonderful 6s and 7s that we celebrated years ago. I think we'll be sitting around 11 to 12%. 12%.
Boom. Awesome. Yeah. Good chat.
Yeah.
Thanks, lovely. Always. Merry Christmas. Bye.
You too.
Lardner, thank you very much for joining me today. How are you, sir?
I'm well. Thank you for the invite.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you. A pleasure to see you again. Now, I'm super interested to enter into your giant brain and have a look back at 2021 and the property game, and then maybe project 2022 and give me some insights as to what's happened this year in your world.
I think 2021 was an easy year to hit the target. So I think a lot of people who made forecasts for certain areas would have done well, irrespective of how much homework they did or did not do. A couple of standouts for me for 2021. A lot of the leading indicator data said that a lot of areas were under the same pressure at the same time, which I've never seen before. So, for example, you had regional areas and coastal areas and city areas all under high demand, low inventory levels, low vacancy rates, with some exceptions, obviously, the high density. So we've had this unique situation where almost everywhere across the country was under the same high demand conditions.
Yeah, at the same time.
At the same time.
Crazy.
And what we've learned from that, though, is not everywhere moved at the same price level. So that's great, because now we can do some categorization and say that market, even under the heat that it's been under in 2021, did okay but didn't do great. What do we learn from that?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that is a really interesting thing. So what's your... we saw obviously a huge shift in terms of the lifestyle stuff. So whether it's out to Mornington Peninsula or up to northern New South Wales or the highly, highlighted by the media, certainly drive or shift of people going to Southeast Queensland. Is it still going to happen? Still going to happen in 2022? You can see more of that? Or do you think when offices start to open back up that people are going to get drawn back to their offices or be told possibly by their employer, well, if you're not going to come back to your desk 3 or 4 days a week, then we'll find someone else that is?
I saw a video from Bernard Salt on LinkedIn a couple of days ago. Well worth finding. His statement was, this is here to stay. I see a couple of trends emerging that are not flash in the pan trends. One is the exodus to affordability. So if you're in Sydney and you've got a first home buyer and have only got 700 or 800K, you're not welcome unless you're looking to buy an apartment, you're out.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be this exodus from Sydney primarily. There's still some of this affordable stuff on the outskirts of Melbourne, but pick on Sydney for a minute. First home buyers, where do you go? If you want a house, you're out. You can't go to Gosford now. That's kind of gone. That's $1 million
Yeah,
plus.
even Wollongong is super expensive, isn't it? So you're definitely heading to a regional area, or you're going to a secondary city like Newcastle or a Dubbo or Orange or something else if you want to stay within New South Wales and buy a house.
Yeah, well, you're out of Newcastle now. You're in the Lower Hunter, but you're not. Newcastle's gone as well. So I think the second trend is this ripple effect. So what we just discussed was this ripple effect, but the ripple effect is really starting to take place, where people are looking at suburbs that have been the sleepy neighbour and now they're awake. So I think the ripple effect, a lot of the coastal strips are going through massive ripple effect through next year. Flight to the exodus to affordability, we covered that as well. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. And you've still got a lot of people who are now listing. So you see your listings volumes have gone up. So they're happening massively right now. So week on week, we're seeing some big increases in listings volumes. A lot of that's people saying time to cash in, time to cash in the chips, take your money and go and find that retirement place and take the 500K or the $1 million profit and live a comfortable retirement.
Yeah, I think a lot of it to do as well, from speaking to some clients of mine in Sydney and Melbourne in particular, is that, or also New South Wales and Victoria, if you generalize it, is that they've been waiting for the ability to be able to travel interstate, certainly if they're going north, to work out what they're going to buy. We've seen a lot this year of people saying they bought sight unseen, but so many people, and the vast majority of people, won't take that risk. So what we typically would see in September, October in the spring season is happening now. We've got these back-to-back weekends, as you just said, of 5,000 plus auctions. There's a huge amount of listing volume, which typically doesn't happen in December. So it's really interesting to see this. It just hasn't really slowed down. And a lot of people that were previously just on hold or on ice are waiting till this point, till the borders have dropped, and they're making their decisions now to find a buyer, and then they'll head up north and find that lifestyle decision that they go to next.
Well, the norm in years gone past was this week you start to see listings drop by 20, 30, 40%. Instead, they're going the other way.
Yep. Yeah, it was always off by mid-December and back on after the Australia Day long weekend, but it was never going to be that way this year. So it's been interesting how it's played out.
It's upside down. It's all crazy.
Yeah. Well, let's do another crazy thing. You kind of referenced there people that have had a bit of a punt this year. CBA comes to mind in terms of their 30% drops that were wrong. What's going to happen in 2022, Mr. Lardner? You're the industry expert, the go-to guy, the big brain on campus. What's going to happen in 2022?
I think the problem we've got is so many people come in and they come straight out of school with their stats or their machine learning skills. And what they're doing is they're fitting a line to dots. And the dots and the line have all been going up at a steep slope. And then when you use the same input variables in a model going the other way, it assumes the same slope, but just in reverse. And that's not how it works, because if people don't have to sell, they don't sell. If people are selling, they will happily sell at the price they bought it for. And the data supports that. So if you look at the properties that have been selling at a loss, most of them gravitate to the selling for the same price as what I bought it for. So I feel that I'm not a loser. So that's a common thing. You know, if people have to sell, forced sale, they'll often gravitate to the price that they purchased it for. So I don't buy the big negative drops. I just think it misses the mark. And these are probably models done by younger people that maybe haven't been around enough to see what really happens.
Yep. So don't sit on the fence. What's happening in 2022 for house prices nationally? Go.
Yeah. My data says that half the markets at the moment, the next 3 to 6 months will be fairly flat, and the other half are still growing quite well. So there might be a few pockets here or there, negative growth, but by and large, half flat, half good, solid growth.
Okay. I'm calling you at the end of 2022, and we're going to analyze this response, and we'll hang you on that.
Yay.
Thanks for your time, mate. Great to chat. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Christmas.
See ya. Bye.
Bye, mate. Bye. Joe Tucker. Happy New Year, sir. How are you?
Happy New Year, Scotty Aggett. It is my favorite property negotiator. Hello.
Oh, I love being your favorite property negotiator. I love being everybody's favorite property negotiator. Just call me, guys. Call me. Happy New Year. Now, mate, you've got some big news. You started out on your buyer's agency journey. Congratulations. What's the name of the company for everyone listening?
It is Property Principles. It is a data-led buyer's agent. It's a buyer's agent.
Sounds awesome. Good start. Well, I'm sure it's going to be a great success with the platform that you've got through API and also just your absolute and deep knowledge of the industry. So I look forward to seeing the growth of that. Now, I'm more interested though in 2022 to see what you've got for us in the year ahead. What are you seeing? What are you feeling on the ground? What can you tell us while we do a bit of a review of last year with some of the other brains that we've spoken to? And we want to tap into your big brain for what's going to happen in 2022.
Yes, 2022 is going to be massive. I'm very excited for this one. I do kind of look at the data for all of these things. It's not just kind of hyping up a place and getting excited about it. You've just got to kind of look at the flow of people. Where are people actually going? And I guess one of the things is with migration is this is not a trend that has just happened all of a sudden where people are moving out of the cities and into the more regional locations. It's something that's been going on for a long time. If you have a look at the ABS data, you can see a spike, but it's on a long-term trend. So it's actually just accelerated this already big trend. So I'm starting to see a lot of people move out to the regions and also driving the affordability now. If you can, sell your place in Sydney for $1 million, what happens? What do you do with that? Great. Well, you can buy a much bigger place for 500, 600, 700,000 in an area that has some nice lifestyle benefits for the family. And you can still work in those locations remotely.
Grilled the other big brains about what their forecasts are for 2022. And I see quite a wide variance really in terms of, the percentage. Everyone is up. People are thinking, I think it's like 5 to kind of 15% in terms of national house price growth. As we just discussed off air, there's so many little villages within, each city and within each state that it's very difficult to just say it's going to go up, at a blanket percentage rate. But are you seeing that as well nationally? You think it's going to kind of rise in single to double digits?
Yeah. I can see kind of nationally, probably around that, I don't know, 16%, I'd say. But then it's all spread out, right? It is absolutely all spread out. But at the moment, from a migration perspective, like you were just talking about, we have a massive need for, manufacturing, for agriculture, and medical. And a lot of these places are all spread out throughout Australia. And this is where we're spending 200 billion, I don't think is the right number, but we're spending a lot of money on infrastructure, and they are where we're needing the jobs. So when people do come in, we are going to be sending them out to the regions. I mean, that makes sense to me. So from a regional perspective, I start to see more the bigger pocket nationally, 15%, 16%, and then bigger pockets outside of that at a higher rate.
Yeah, big year again for 2022 for property prices then. So upward pressure on rents, supply issues, which we've discussed, still a push for people to move to the regional areas. What else is going to happen in 2022? What can you see? What's written on your little tarot cards?
Tarot cards. I think people just need to run their own race at this point. There is a lot of negativity around interest rates rising. That's not even negativity, but it is a fact. They will probably rise towards the tail end of the year. But the interest rates do not just cut the rental crisis. They do not just cut the demand for property. They don't just cut all this infrastructure spending. It's still going. And people in Australia have a lot of money. The Australian economy is going to grow 5.5%. So the national forecast, I think it was done in November, is going to be at 5.5% GDP growth, which is great. And we've got unemployment.
The wealthiest country per capita and the wealthiest individuals per capita worldwide, isn't it?
Oh, really?
Australians. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we've got a huge amount of wealth built through property and on the back of the lucky country.
There we go. We'll take that.
Yeah. Joe Tucker, thank you very much, my friends. I hope you have a wonderful year. Good luck with your new business venture. Property Principles. Look it up, people, if you need to buy a property. Yeah. Congratulations on the launch of that.
Thank you very much, Scotty. It's always great to have you a part of this group and part of the community, and you're dropping nothing but value bombs. So if you ever need a property negotiator, we all know that Hello House is the only house we need to go to. Knock on the door.
Thanks, Joe. See you, mate.
See you, mate.